Imagine one day, a pretty decently sized theme park who's been thrilling guests for nearly 40 years, contains 10 amazing attractions, and made lots of memories without warning just shut down. Not because of new ownership nor anything like that. Instead, its main reason for permanent closure? More parking space. This isn't a hypothetical. In fact, it was a reality in 2005 when the iconic Six Flags Astroworld, located in Houston, Texas, closed its doors forever. This is the story of the forgotten fourth Six Flags park ever created, located in the Lone Star State, and how Six Flags fumbled the bag. First things first, Astroworld has a long history to look at, spanning way back to the 1960s. And while I will cover some major highlights in history and the iconic rides that made the park, we're specifically talking about Six Flags and how they were responsible for the park's tragic end, as well as how the park could have maybe been saved. For an extensive and documentary style video, you can check out these videos by these amazing creators who go really in depth about Astroworld. With that said, to examine what went wrong, it actually starts at the very beginning, when the entirety of America was captivated by one specific theme park. Known as the happiest place on earth, in an era where entertainment was a trending point, a certain Walt Disney capitalized on it, creating a one-of-a-kind theme park known for its magical qualities. 5 years since its debut, the happiest place on earth truly lived up to its name, but the main problem was being only in one place on earth, Anaheim, California. This meant that for the OG Disney park fans, you would need to travel down to California to experience it yourself, or just live there. For anyone else, the trip was treacherous, and when others started to discover that, business tycoons started jumping in on the potential of new theme parks, and soon enough, more popped up across the nation. For the Lone Star State specifically, our own fun at the time was riding horses, cattle drives, standoffs at sunset. No, I'm just kidding. In all seriousness, we didn't have a major theme park. Yes, typical state fairs, but nothing like Disney. That was until Six Flags Over Texas was created. Basically the Texas version of Disney, but bigger and better. It revolutionized travel industry in Texas. And while DFW was profiting, another city in the center of Texas wanted the same kind of attention. Enter Houston, Texas. Famously known for doing a major role in the space race, Houston wasn't necessarily a tourist attraction. That wasn't until one man changed everything. This is Judge Roy Hoffines, also the former mayor of Houston. His main goal was to make the city a major destination location. His idea? A $30 million indoor sports stadium named the Astrodome. Designed to watch America's most popular pastime, baseball, the stadium would also be held for other events as well. The $1 million investment did amazing, but he didn't want to stop there. The whole area was soon to be transformed into what he would call the Astrodome, a major entertainment venue that would also house a theme park, known as, you guessed it, Astroworld. Roy knew entertainment, but it didn't exactly make him an expert. If he wanted this brand new theme park to be a massive success, he needed the right team for the job. And soon he found the perfect team, consisting of former Disney Imagineers, big names known for big theme parks, and even the head architect for Six Flags Over Texas up north, Randall Duhl. Randall became Roy's right-hand man, and was responsible for the biggest parts of Astroworld's design. Working together, they made sure no detail was left out in this massive theme park. Well, almost every detail. You see, due to Loop 610 basically splitting Astroworld, the only way to make a parking space for this brand new theme park was put it across the bridge. You would park there and then walk across the bridge into the actual theme park. A unique separate entrance basically. At the time it was okay because it was all part of the Astrodome, but this one decision would change everything for the park later on. Regardless, from ensuring an immersive experience to also helping us Texans beat the heat with thousands invested in AC alone, the park was set to be a huge success, and it sure was. At opening, the park was only about 57 acres of non-stop fun, but there was still nearly double left undeveloped, as there was plans to expand, and long story short, it did. I mean, a lot of things attributed to its massive success, but its highlights included 8 themed lands all paying tribute to Texan culture, lots of attractions to explore, and even a Texan version of the Alpine bobsleds located at Disneyland. While it wasn't as extensive as that version, it was still just as huge and still a massive hit, with what was considered modern effects at the time, containing cold rooms, captivating features, and even a jump scare from a Yeti, even if he was in a suit. By the way, fun fact, the Yeti was eventually copied by Disney from this park. From it all, the best part about Astroworld is that this was uniquely Texan. Similar to the success of Northwood Over Texas, residents of Houston felt like they finally had a Disney of their own. From the festive corners of Plaza de Fiesta to the chilling heights of the European Village, there was something special in the park, and Roy knew this park wouldn't be small for much longer. As the 70s kicked off, the park was pretty much like a family fair. And while that still wasn't that bad, Roy wanted to make this park even bigger than just a simple tourist attraction. His answer? Dexter Freebich's Electric Roller Ride. Yes, that's the real name. Brought to you by the same guys that made a lot of iconic mine train coasters, including the world's first tubular steel coaster, Runaway Mine Train. Manufacturer Arrow made a new icon for the park, and its long and widening layout made it extremely popular with all the guests. Along with new thrills for the park, also appeared a new character. Basically the Mickey to Disney, or Bugs Bunny to Six Flags. Marvel McFay transformed the kids area in Astroworld and made a name in the park, setting itself different compared to most typical theme parks. Little by little, like grinding a game in Roller Coaster Tycoon, the park became a household name in Houston and truly was an experience to check out. Far from a roadside attraction, Roy had finally brought about a theme park that soon became the #1 entertainment venue in Houston, Texas. It wasn't at all like the Astrodome. This was a new icon in the making. The only thing in the way of Astroworld now is Roy's realization that at some point he would no longer be able to manage his beloved park, and he would need to pass it down to someone capable soon. Roy loved and served the city for years, but he knew full well this good thing wouldn't last. If he didn't give it up soon, there'd be no guarantee of the park's future. But he also didn't want to take away the beloved entertainment venue for his town. Eventually, Roy came to the conclusion that there was one group and one group only that could continue the park's legacy. That was Six Flags. Now of course, when I say Six Flags, it actually wasn't the Six Flags everyone knows. At the time, the Six Flags Corp consisted of only 3 parks: Six Flags Over Georgia, St. Louis, and Over Texas. These were the legacy parks created by Wynn. It was mainly a Texan theme park company that also honored other states' histories to explain it plainly. Because this was the OG Six Flags, so to speak, it meant they were more than happy to take on the first ever acquisition to the Six Flags chain. And not to mention the 4th ever Six Flags created. The switch was supposed to take place in 1976, but even before 76 hit, Six Flags was super excited about this new installation, and they had a new toy to play around with. This meant massive investments and new rides left and right. The biggest investment though came with the brand new area in the park known as the Coney Island section. And of course, not the Coney Island section without the Coney Island Cyclone. And yes, the new coaster in the area was technically supposed to be the real Coney Island Cyclone from New York, but due to high costs to ship it over to Texas, they went with a custom built Woody known as Texas Cyclone. Still though, crazy thing we could have gotten the real deal. Regardless, it worked for the best, as the Texas Cyclone soon became the best coaster in the park, as well as the state, and as well as becoming the #1 coaster in the world. Basically, that era's version of Fury 325. People from all over the nation traveled down to Astroworld just to ride the Texas Cyclone, and those Astroworld home parkers were truly living it up that year. At the time, Six Flags had the money, and they would spare no expense on Astroworld, increasing the quality big time. As the 1980s came to an end, and a new decade hit, a string of new coasters would soon pop up around Astroworld, and the one that kickstarted all was this one right here, Accelerate. In 1984, bringing back a well-known associate of Astroworld, Arrow, they would soon manufacture the park's first invert coaster. Known as the Arrow Suspended Coaster, it was considered a prototype model, with only a few of them scattered across the US. For the one at Astroworld though, it was a massive hit, mixing the rare sensation of swinging across the track, while also turning the train around to have a backward experience. There was truly nothing like it. And the next few years also brought more back-to-back coasters. 1989 with Viper, 1990 with Ultra Twister, and 1983 with Batman the Ride, which also took the spot of the former Alpine Sleigh Ride. While it was a sad ride to let go, they were able to still preserve the mountain, and they even used it in the new coaster's queue line, a pretty nice homage to the original. With all new coasters installed everywhere, new expansions happening, new rides, and overall a complete transformation of Astroworld into a major theme park, Roy's legacy was truly being preserved by Six Flags. All seemed bright for the gem of Houston, Texas, but in a random twist of events, Six Flags underwent massive changes of their own, which would also drastically change the future of Astroworld. Prior to the second half of the 90s, a secret issue was growing behind the scenes for Six Flags. At the time, owned by Time Warner, the company started to go a little spending crazy, as they spent too much as they probably should have, and it was drastically hurting the company. To avoid any further risk of bankruptcy, Time Warner decided to step out of Six Flags, and soon handed the entirety of the company to a brand new company, Premier. Led by CEO Kieran Burke, he didn't exactly have the same mindset as Roy or Angus G. Wynn. He wanted to turn Six Flags into a franchise. Six Flags fans at the time expected an optimistic outcome, as now financial issues could be resolved, but soon they would realize they were dead wrong. While Premier did some good for some Six Flags parks, with them being responsible for many roller coaster additions across the chain, for Six Flags Astroworld specifically, nothing good came out of it. From the park's start all the way through recent acquisitions, the park always received consistent care and new rides. For some reason though, when Premier stepped in, this all changed. barely any priority was put into Astroworld, and the quality of this Houston park dropped significantly. Their best new ride during this era was a Vekoma SLC named Serial Thriller, and that alone says it all. Formerly the star of Houston, the park attracted bad crowds, and many of their rides started to have constant technical breakdowns, resulting in unhappy experiences, terrible maintenance, and plunging Astroworld into a lower tier park. As the 90s came to an end and the 2000s stood on the horizon, things were about to get worse for the park. In the beginning of the new millennia, Premier was suffering financially, spending way too much and receiving way too little. This caused CEO Kieran Burke to make tough calls and cut some parks overseas. But when that wasn't enough, he soon made a decision that no one expected.
Turn out the lights, the party's over. 37 years of Houston history have come to a close.
Six Flags Astroworld shut down for good this evening.
To the complete shock of everyone, Astroworld announced that they will be closing forever on October 30, 2005. This understandably angered guests, as this park had served Houston for over 40 years, and now suddenly was going to close? They demanded answers, and according to Kieran Burke, it was a slew of excuses, but the primary reason was to make a profit out of it. Remember the parking situation I was talking about? Well, it finally came back. You see, after the years had passed, a brand new stadium got built right next to Astrodome, that being Reliance Stadium. This meant that the Astrodome was no longer a thing, and instead was just a giant shared parking lot. This caused lots of issues and confusion whenever either venue had a massive event. And because Kieran said it was a massive opportunity, he thought by removing the park, they would gain a profit of $150 million. Or so he says. But due to Six Flags being in a tight spot, they just rapidly agreed because they needed money, unaware of what they've really done. Soon enough, the final day came, and left many Houston residents really sad about this news, as their childhood park would now be gone forever. America's best coaster, gone. The one-of-a-kind atmosphere, scrapped. And as people documented the demolition of their memories, they waited to see what was the results, and they didn't look good. From the expected $150 million, the return was only $77 million, with an additional $20 million charged because it was expensive to demolish the park, meaning Six Flags lost money and spent money for no reason. Obviously, the really bad call got Kieran fired, but it was too late. Astroworld was now in scraps. 40 plus years of history gone. And while some ride pieces and attractions were moved over to different Six Flags parks, they would never reside again in that area. And to make it a little bit worse, the area wasn't even used for a parking lot. To this day, it's just empty grass. And so, you just saw all this park's history, everything it took to make it work, the impact it had on the city, and on one fateful day, all of it was wiped away. Like the title says, Six Flags fumbled the bag. The excuses Six Flags gave about Astroworld's closure weren't the real meaning of it. This wasn't a story of a mistake, it was a story of lack of care. If the current CEO, or anyone in charge during that time, actually put a little bit of money into Astroworld, it wouldn't have been in despair. And worst of all, if they double-checked Kieran's decision, they maybe could have found out it was a bad call. But they were desperate, and they took desperate measures that didn't have to happen. So the big question is, could this fate have been avoided? And was there a better way to approach Astroworld? The simple answer is yes. Focusing on the bigger parks that make them more profit makes sense on a business scale. But with so many assets to the Six Flags name, all it takes is investing little by little into all the parks to basically farm a massive profit. And yet, Premier chose to not do that and leave Astroworld to do its own thing. So of course, the profits were conveniently low for them, and a terrible mistake was made. Obviously now, it's already been done, and the best we can do is preserve the park's history and tell its story, serving as a warning for future theme park companies to care about their smaller parks, but also for us theme park goers to truly appreciate every single visit we get at our favorite theme parks, as we never know when one day it can all go away. Regardless, I feel like if people did get to experience this amazing park, and kudos to them. Also, huge shout out to all the amazing people that got to document this park. They truly play a major role in this park's history, and without them, we would have never seen what this park actually looks like. All the footage used in this video will be credited to them and put in the description. So if you want to see longer pieces of that amazing footage, definitely check them out. Finally, if you got to visit Astroworld and have a favorite memory you want to share, comment down below. I'd love to hear it. Anyways, thank you for watching, and this is JB Thrills signing out.